In 2006, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement distributed playing cards to prison inmates featuring 52 victims of the area's toughest unsolved crimes. The hope was that prisoners might come forward with tips to help solve those cases. For some, the program was successful, but for murder victim Maddie Henry, who was featured on the Nine of Hearts, not one single tip came in. I'm excited to see you, Greg Pinkins.
Well, I'm excited to see you, Kelly. It's been a while.
I've known Greg Pinkins for 20 years. His ability to cut to the chase and get people to tell it to him straight, you're not going to find anybody better. Well, Greg, we're here in Fort Myers, Florida, working on a case where our victim is Maddie Henry, who was 40 years old.
Sustained a gunshot wound to the back of the head.
On September the 8th, 1993, the body of Maddie Henry was found, dumped behind a rec center with a single gunshot wound to the back of her head.
They also found the purse with all her personal belongings inside it as well.
Going out, it's like a bunch of dump trash.
It's like dump trash.
Kind of sad, huh? Maddie Henry was a lady who grew up on the streets of Fort Myers. She made a living shoplifting clothes and then selling them on the streets. She worked as a prostitute. She did a lot of illegal things just to get by. In the cases that you worked in your career and I worked in mine, where the people that live a rougher life, the people that live on the streets, the people that don't like us, I bet you that's 85% of our cases.
A huge number.
And I wish people would know that we work just as hard on those.
Put a lot of effort into those, all cases, and it doesn't matter who the victim is. A victim is a victim, regardless of their social status or what their lifestyle is like. Their family deserves to have justice. They deserve to have their case worked. You put just as much effort into each and every case that you work.
Feels like yesterday, but we were here just 7 months ago working on a case where the suspect's name was Kultar Garaya, and now he's sitting in their county jail waiting to go to trial.
You are under arrest for the murder of Repender.
Maybe we'll have that same kind of good luck. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Hug, Nut. Glad to be back.
Hey, I'm Brian.
Great. How you doing?
This is Alma Henderson. Pleasure to meet you.
Hey, I'm Kelly. Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
So you drafted him, huh?
Yes, Al's ready to go. He's an excellent detective, a lot of experience both here and in Cleveland. And we're ready to get started on this, ready for something good.
All right, let's go.
Okay. It's great to have Kelly back. We first met back in November of last year with the Repender Garaya case. First experience was wonderful. And we're hoping that Kelly and Greg are going to help solve this Maddie Henry case.
Al, you want to run the case down to us?
Sure. Well, this is all about Maddie Henry.
She was 40 years old, right, guys?
Yes.
Seemed like she didn't hesitate to stir it up and tell people what she thought.
No, Maddie was a feisty girl.
Yeah.
For sure.
She's a fighter.
You know, and the sad thing is also she's a mom. You know, she's got family that obviously cared about her, even though her lifestyle wasn't the greatest.
Maddie's just one of those people that you just really felt for her. It just seemed like she just loved to live life. She did live it on the edge a little bit, but she didn't deserve what happened to her.
On September 8th, 1993, law enforcement responded to the Highland Park Rec Center at about 12:30 in the afternoon, where they found the body of Maddie Henry. The body was partially clothed. There were some sheets that were wrapped around her head, and when they started to examine her, they noticed what appeared to be a single gunshot wound to the back of the head.
We believe that she was dumped there. She wasn't actually killed there.
Hotel room seems to be a place where it probably occurred. The police always believed that Maddie was killed at the Poinsettia Motel, where she was staying the night before her body was discovered, based on phone records showing that she made calls from the room. The fact that she wasn't fully dressed and the sheets found on her body appeared consistent with commercial usage, just like the ones motels use.
All right, well, y'all want to start putting everything on the board?
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
You want to start with Jerry Nash first?
Yeah,
Why is he in our story?
because Maddie used to buy drugs from him.
Did they date, have sex, or they have that relationship too, or we think it's just dealer?
No, pretty much just dealer. There had been some talk of them being in a fight over Maddie ripping him off.
Not just an argument, it's a fight, right?
Physical
It's
fight.
a physical fight.
Can you remember when that was?
It was a couple days prior.
There were several people that investigators talked to back then that said that Jerry Nash and Maddie Henry had gotten into some type of altercation because of this stolen money and or drugs.
The guy, Jerry Nash, they had the altercation. He cornered her up like he was going to jump on her.
I heard that people was going around saying that me and Maddie supposed to had to touch somebody's drug money and that Jerry Nash had a hit on her and had a hit on me.
Jerry was supposedly looking for Maddie on that night.
Do we know why?
Pretty sure it revolves around the drug angle.
Does he have a criminal history?
It's pretty much all dope.
And he's in prison now?
He's in prison for a 30-year sentence.
He's a tough guy.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to put up Angelo Ruth. Okay, what do y'all want to start with?
Known relationship with Maddie because they have a child together, Angela.
He also has an alibi that's shaky.
He said he went to Juanita's house and went to bed.
What's her name, girlfriend?
Juanita Henry. She went to sleep at 9:30, and she cannot account for his whereabouts after that.
Okay.
He told 3 different stories about that hotel room.
Version 1 of the motel story was nothing, said nothing.
Correct.
During the initial investigation, the police discovered that the motel room Maddie was staying in that night was registered under Angelo Ruth's name. But Angelo Ruth, in his initial statement, never mentions the Poinsettia Motel.
When confronted with the fact that they know he was there, he said that he rented a room for a prostitute.
Okay, and wasn't there one more version?
In the deposition, approximately 5 years after her murder, he said that he did have sex with Maddie in that hotel room.
Wasn't there a drink or something? It comes back with his prints on it.
There was a food container.
Investigators collected physical evidence that tied Angelo to Maddie on the day of the murder. Those items, along with samples from the car Angelo was driving, have been sent out to the lab for retesting using the latest DNA technology in the hopes of seeing what else we can find out. Okay, anything else?
We know that he owned a .38 caliber firearm, and she was killed with a .38.
Which he lies about.
Correct.
One of his employees saw the weapon in September, which was the time that Maddie died.
What else?
He took out a life insurance policy on Maddie 2 years earlier in 1991.
Okay.
Because of Angela, their daughter.
Life insurance policy for how much?
It was for 50 grand, but in this particular situation, it's supposed to double to 100. For the double indemnity, he did receive a payout in 1999. This was 6 years after Maddie's death.
It's rare to have a life insurance policy involved in a street case like this. But Angelo is a savvy businessman who owns a sandwich shop, and he's the primary caregiver for their 3-year-old daughter. So it's not surprising that he might have taken out the policy to make sure she was taken care of. But it does make you wonder if that's the motive in this case.
Her and Jerry Nash center more around the drug issue,
okay.
Whereas Angelo and her center more around the relationship issue.
And the financial motive issue.
We need to figure out, was the motive here based on drugs or life on the streets, or did it have to do with that life insurance policy? That could be crucial in determining whether or not one of our 2 suspects is involved in Maddie's murder. So we're gonna go see Rhonda now, Maddie's daughter.
It'd be nice to talk with her a little bit.
See if she's as feisty as her mom.
Yeah.
We're gonna go meet Rhonda Henry, Maddie's daughter that she had in a relationship before she met Angelo.
Mind if we come in?
Sure, come
Okay,
in.
great. Thank you so much.
Rhonda was only 22 years old at the time of the murder, and she has been the strongest voice in trying to find out who did this to her mom. Tell us about her.
She had a way with words and very outspoken. She had a lot of friends.
What do you miss about her the most?
Talking smack.
That last day, that last night, what all do you remember?
My son was, I think he was like 1. And I don't know, the last night she was like, she didn't raise me, but she wanted the opportunity to help me raise her grandson. And so I told her, yeah. And that was like our last conversation. She was actually trying to clean her life up.
Could you think of anybody at the time who might have done it to her?
You know, my mom had a way with words, but she didn't have enemies. She kept me away from a lot of her friends, put it like that.
When's the last time you saw Angelo?
Probably 2 days ago.
When you see him, what do you think?
When I see him, I don't like just hate him because I don't know. A lot of the murders here, they go unsolved because everybody always running their mouths saying what they think and not what they know. And then too, they don't talk when they need to talk. Knowing that this person supposedly took my mom from me and they still like walking around on the same streets as me. Just walking around, and it's bad. It's pretty bad.
I know it's taken time, but we're trying as hard as we can to get closure for you and your family.
It's been so many years now, it's like, I don't know, like, what's the truth? You know, I want the truth.
We're vested in this, and we want to give you the news that you've been waiting for 22 long years.
Yeah.
We get another shot, you know.
So we would tell you to be patient a little bit longer. The police department today is trying to do everything that they can, so you hold on to that, okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna have no choice. I have no choice.
This is where Maddie and all of them, they ran back in the day, and it's still the same makeup as it was back then.
Okay. In order to learn more about our victim, Maddie Henry, who was found shot to death on September the 8th, 1993, we need to retrace the last day she was seen alive.
We're bringing up stuff that happened 22 years ago, tearing some heartstrings, but we're here to get this thing done.
Around 10:30 p.m. on September the 7th, Maddie went to the Sable Palms apartment where her daughter Rhonda lived. Rhonda wasn't home that night, but Maddie did speak to Trina Johnson, who was the last person known to have seen Maddie alive. What do you remember about Maddie?
I've been knowing Maddie for a long time. Me and Rhonda grew up together ever since the first grade.
You knew Maddie since the first grade?
Yes.
What do you remember about that last time, Trina?
She was looking for Rhonda because she had something in her room.
What was she looking for specifically?
It was a bag of clothes that she had. And I told her, I said, go ahead on in there and get it. She was like, no, baby, I'll wait till Rhonda come. So when she got ready to leave, she told me, she said, tell Rhonda I'm going to be in the motel. I told her, okay. And I didn't stop her.
There's no reason for you to have stopped her that night. You had no idea what was going to happen, Trina. You're not to blame at all for this.
But it's always in the back of my mind, what if I could have pulled her home?
Is that what's making you cry?
Yes.
Because you feel like you could have done something else?
Yeah.
You couldn't have.
You know Maddie. Maddie was going to do what she wanted to do anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Trina.
Thank you. The problem is that 6th Street could be anywhere. Yeah.
Hey.
Good morning, Sunshine.
How are ya?
Good. Good to see you.
You too.
This is Al. You're going to love him.
While Brian and Greg are out finding witnesses, Kelly, Al, and I are going to locations where we believe Maddie was killed and her body was dumped. Finding everybody you want to talk to?
About what you would think for this kind of case.
Okay. Seeing them firsthand might give us a clearer picture as to whether or not one of our suspects could have committed the murder. All right, let's go look at these places that are on your map. After leaving the Sable Palm apartments, we believe that Maddie walked approximately 3 miles to the Poinsettia Motel, where she was staying that night in room 10.
This used to be the Poinsettia. Looks a whole lot different than what it did back then. There's no room 10, at least on these doors here.
Couple of interesting things. It doesn't look like there was a struggle. No blood. She has 1 gunshot wound to the head. Since there were no signs of struggle or traces of Maddie's blood found in the room, it's likely her killer approached her while she was asleep. The killer grabbed a sheet off the bed and crumbled it up near Maddie's head to possibly catch the blood spatter before firing the fatal shot through the sheet and into the back of her skull. One sheet had some black powder burns on it.
Correct.
So that would show that it's at least a close shot. This explains why the sheet found with Maddie's body has 6 bullet holes through it when only 1 shot was fired. Then the killer quickly wrapped the sheet around Maddie's head to soak up any blood before transporting her body away from the scene.
And with the way that the hotel is set up, it's fairly easy access to back the vehicle up and quickly get her into the back of the vehicle.
And then ultimately she ends up at the rec center.
At the rec center, correct.
Since the rec center where Maddie's body was found is approximately 4 miles from the hotel, it's safe to assume that the killer placed her body in a vehicle to transport her. It would make sense if Angela was the killer that he would want to distance Maddie from the motel room that was rented in his name. And if Jerry was a killer, he might have moved the body to hide it from discovery.
Her body was dumped right in between this generator and that wall.
And there's the picture. Boy, that's exactly the same thing. This is the area, you guys, that the body was found. Her purse is right there. The suspect then also took 2 sheets that were definitely involved. We know that. Some old newspapers that looked like they had blood on it. Brown paper bags that looked like they had blood. Definitely distancing anything from himself and what had blood in it.
Everything that's related to her is just thrown right here.
Just thrown out with her like she's trash.
The bloody newspaper and paper bags looked like items that might have been in the trunk of the suspect's vehicle.
I'm thinking back the vehicle up, take her out of the trunk, drops her, grabs her feet, carries her this way, right behind here, takes the sheets, newspaper, purse, and throws it right on top of her body.
So he kind of tried to hide her.
Not really, not too much. All the places in between there and here, you know what I'm saying? This is just odd that you picked this. Although the rec center is isolated, especially at night, it was surrounded by woods back then, where it would be easier to hide a body. So if Jerry's the killer and moved her body so it would be hidden, then why would he leave her body still in plain sight? Either Jerry's not our killer or we're missing something.
This big complex right here, but there's 15. I don't know which one is which.
The key to solving Maddie Henry's 1993 murder could be figuring out which of our suspects, Angelo Ruth or Jerry Nash, had the strongest motive.
Use this Tahoe to go up there.
In the initial investigation, multiple witnesses from Maddie's world claimed that there was a physical altercation between Maddie and Jerry Nash around the time of the murder because Maddie ripped him off over either drugs or money.
Maddie was out there. She was yelling and, hollering, crying, because her and Jerry Nash had been arguing with each other.
We're going to talk to one of those witnesses. We want to see how much of all this she remembers, or she can say for sure she saw or heard herself.
We've reopened the case from 1993 with Maddie. I know you gave a statement to the cops 22 years ago, yes. About Maddie's relationship with Jerry Nash.
But we heard a rumor that Maddie and Jerry Nash got into it because Jerry Nash is claiming somebody took some of his dope or his money or something like that.
I don't know about that.
Did you ever see Jerry Nash and Maddie get into it?
I ain't never seen them get in no argument about that.
Right here it says Maddie was out there. She was yelling and hollering and crying, rather. I'm trying to help you remember what you saw or what you heard. Remembering anything about Jerry Nash?
We want to get this case solved.
I really wanted to get solved too.
We're working on it.
People hate looking in the papers and see your friends and stuff. Don't happen to them, you don't know what happened to them.
Yeah.
In all these years, you never heard any rumors around here about who killed Maddie? Somebody has to know out here.
Somebody got to, of course somebody got to know.
I'll give you my number. If anything else comes to mind, you can give me a call.
Can y'all come in a plane car or something?
Yeah.
Because this make me look like I'm talking to the police. I don't want to be called up.
Yeah, we understand that.
Not only does this witness not corroborate her old statement, she barely even admits to giving it. It's hard to tell whether or not she doesn't know, she doesn't remember, or she just doesn't want to cooperate because she's afraid of law enforcement, or she just doesn't want to be called a snitch in the neighborhood.
We've been good without getting the distrust of the police and people seeing them talk so far. That was our first one, but it's probably not going to be the last.
No. Whatever the reason is, it's a big hurdle we're going to need to overcome if we're going to get information out of the witnesses from Maddie's world.
About a mile up, we'll get up to this prison.
Gerald Jenkins, who was now incarcerated, had a romantic relationship with Maddie Henry up until her murder.
He was interviewed just about 2 days after the murder. The whole thing is something good.
It'll be great. He was open to talking to law enforcement about Jerry Nash back then, and hopefully still will be.
When is the last time you saw her?
Well, just a few days before she was killed.
Did she talk to you about any physical incident she had with Jerry Nash where he may have roughed her up?
This is what she told me. Okay. Jerry Nash was eating a cake, and she said, joking with him, "Poor, now you eating cakes and shit. You used to eat caviar," some old shit like that. And I guess he took offense. She told me that he called her black bitch, talking that shit, and that was that.
Did she say that they got into a physical altercation, or how far did they go?
She didn't say it was physical.
She never said it was
cussing.
Did you hear any rumors back in the day that Maddie may have ripped off Jerry some dope or dope money?
No, I ain't never heard.
No?
Gerald recalls the altercation between Jerry and Maddie, but denies that it ever turned physical. He might be minimizing his initial statement, or maybe this is just a case of talk. It just got blown out of proportion.
Everybody that we seem to talk to about this Jerry Nash angle, not one person has really brought him to fruition in this.
That's true. Kind of remembered it, but not really.
Selective memory, and everyone knows him, but nothing of any substance.
So the good thing will be is after y'all talk to him and meet him face to face, you can decide what you want to do with him.
Absolutely.
Jerry Nash is serving a 30-year sentence. He's got about 22 years left on his sentence, and hopefully he'll be able to shed some light in this investigation.
The only person left to talk to about Jerry Nash is Jerry Nash. Maybe he can help us make sense about the allegations against him.
Could you describe to us your relationship with Maddie the best you remember?
No relationship at all.
But you know her, right?
They used to call her Black Maddie, but that was when she was in school. That was a long time ago.
But you've never had any interaction with Maddie then? No. Nothing memorable at all? And you would know if you guys ever got an altercation, whether it be verbal or physical, you would know. Yes, sir, please.
All my life, I never had an altercation with her at all. Never, ever, ever.
Some people say back in the day that you may have been looking for Maddie Henry in the day or two before her death because she ripped you off for some dope money or some drugs, and that's what they said.
We ain't never had no relationship about no drugs, never.
When we talked to Gerald Jenkins, he said that Maddie told him one day that she made a joke to you and there were some words that were exchanged.
Never.
No? Because in a couple of statements, people said that she had an argument with you and it turned physical and a guy had to pull you off of her.
Say they had to pull me?
Yeah, off of her.
Unbelievable. That's not true.
Okay.
No, that's not true. I never had no relationship with that woman. Never had nothing to do with it. I would never hurt Maddie. I don't know. That ain't my MO. That's not me, man. Whatever happened to her, I wouldn't do that. And that's a fact. That's a fact. All you gotta do is take my blood, my DNA, however you want to take it.
Okay, yeah, if you don't mind, I got swabs at the end. Okay, yeah, we appreciate it.
This is a mystery because, on one hand, Jerry seems to be downplaying his relationship with Maddie. That just kind of brings up a red flag there. But on the other hand, he was eager to offer up his DNA.
You just did Jerry Nash, huh? How'd that go?
Jumped right up and said, hey, you can take my DNA, my blood, anything. We're going to send Jerry's DNA sample to the lab, and until we get results back on items that we're testing, Jerry Nash still remains a part of this investigation.
If he's willing to give up his DNA, well, that's interesting.
We haven't heard anything concrete about Jerry Nash's alleged altercation with Maddie Henry that may have led to her murder. So until we get our DNA results back, we're going to turn our attention to learning more about the potential motive of our other suspect, Angelo Ruth.
There's a chance that there'll be no callback. Most concerned about insurance policy taken out on her.
Angelo Ruth took out a life insurance policy where he stood to gain $50,000 to $100,000 on Maddie after her death. Angelo's sister, Linda Spikes, was listed as the secondary beneficiary on that policy. We've left her a message to contact us so we can learn more about that.
Sergeant O'Reilly, Fort Myers Police. This is Miss Spikes?
Yes.
Hey, how are you doing? We've reopened the case with Maddie Henry. Did you guys have any sort of relationship?
No, we just know about being his girlfriend. We know. Wait a minute. Let me call you back in about 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. It's a different number calling me. Sergeant O'Reilly, Fort Myers Police. I just spoke to a Linda.
I'm Linda.
You're Linda?
Yeah, that was my husband calling because I wanted my husband to see what was going on.
Oh, okay. I thought it was you that had a cold. We were going over some documents and we saw your name came up as a secondary beneficiary to Maddie's policy.
Really?
Did you know that your name was on that?
No.
Okay, thank you for your time, Ms. Spikes.
You bet.
Okay, bye-bye.
The fact that Linda was unaware she was even a beneficiary raises the question if there's anything fishy about this insurance policy Angelo took out on Maddie.
I mean, come on.
Linda.
When the cops like, hey, give me a call, you have someone else disguise a voice and...
Doesn't everybody do that, Brian?
Hello, am I speaking with Bruce?
Bruce DeCraker is a handwriting analyst who was submitted samples of known signatures of Maddie Henry to compare to the signature at the bottom of the life insurance policy application to see whether or not Maddie signed that application.
I had 2 signatures on the insurance document that were in question. I examined that and I determined that she did not write the signatures on the document.
So in your professional opinion, then, it was someone else who signed that document, not Maddie Henry?
Yes, it was.
Excellent.
Thank you. All right, have a great day. Okay, bye. So the person that signed the policy for Maddie Henry is not Maddie Henry.
And he'll testify to that. Excellent.
Any thoughts on how you want to approach her?
Try to keep it as casual, non-accusatory at this point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We want to go talk to Genevia Brown because Genevia is the agent that wrote the policy on Maddie. So maybe Genevia could give us some information because we've already gotten the handwriting analysis to say, hey, it wasn't Maddie Henry. And that might help us understand what all this means. Did you know Maddie?
No. Angelo told said this is Maddie Henry, and she said she was Maddie Henry, and I took it from there. Signed it.
Did you ever hear what happened to Maddie? Angelo would have had to have told you that Maddie was dead.
I remember too, he did ask me. He said, Miss Brown, do you think that they gonna pay off for the policy?
Right.
And I said, Angelo, I don't know.
Do you think Angelo asked you that question because he may have pulled one over on you and brought somebody in there that wasn't Maddie?
I don't think negative about people.
The handwriting expert said this is not Maddie Henry's signature.
If that's true, then I got deceived. And
By who?
By Angelo.
In the state of Florida, you do not have to have identification to sign the insurance policy. So Geneva was going based on what they were telling her. It just goes to show that this was all just a big farce that Angelo had going on.
That is interesting, though, that Angelo would ask that. You think if it's going to pay out?
We know that Angelo collected the insurance payout after Maddie's murder. Because his policy was almost 2 years old, it's hard to know if he took it out then with the intent to murder Maddie. But it does make us want to dig deeper into Angelo's financial history to see if we can uncover anything else.
If you look at this last sheet that I gave you.
He actually had another insurance policy taken out on somebody who passed away, I believe, 3 weeks after the insurance paperwork was completed. This person was ill, but it was never disclosed.
It seems to be a pattern with him in regards to hooking up with these sickly, high-risk individuals.
Women that either are short life expectancy.
High risk.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, I just found these civil cases, and Angelo has 4 pages,
That's
5
a lot.
pages of
This is the most I've ever seen on anybody.
No kidding.
home foreclosures to
Failure to pay taxes.
failure to pay taxes. I mean, we're talking a long, long time of financial woes.
Right before the murder, it looks like there was a pending litigation, and it was for a household realty corporation, and there was a judgment that was filed against Angelo on the 30th of August, which was just 9 days before Maddie's body was found. Wow. So he was already in the hole 9 days before Maddie's murder, directly tied to his house going into foreclosure.
That shows that he's really needing money right before it all happens.
Yes.
If his financial world is crashing down on him right around that time, and that's why he needs money. Angelo was in debt and about to lose his house just 9 days before Maddie's murder. That is great evidence of financial motive. It could also explain why Maddie's body was moved from the motel but left in a discoverable spot.
All the places in between there and here, this is just odd that you picked this.
Maddie's body would have to be discovered in order for an insurance policy to pay out on Maddie's death. And Angelo was desperate for that money. Good job on this, man. Okay, he's just got a whole lot better.
Hey, guys.
Hello,
Hey.
Sunshine.
How's it going?
Good to see you.
I heard we have some results coming from DNA International.
I believe so.
We're supposed to place a call to the boys so that we can all listen to what's happening here. You want to give a call?
Do you know how to do a conference call?
Yeah, right?
Hello? Hey, it's Al. We're going to try the conference call with DNA.
Are you guys ready for it?
Okay, I got you on speaker, Al.
Okay.
We sent out the items that were initially collected at the crime scene back in 1993 in the hopes that new technology might bring us additional DNA evidence pointing to one of our suspects, Angela Ruth or Jerry Nash. And now it's time to get the results.
Hi, Rachel. It's Detective Antonini with Fort Myers PD. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good.
Hi, Rachel. This is Yolanda. The first one's the purse and the wallet.
So for the purse and the wallet, we screened both of those for contact DNA, and we got no DNA on either of those items.
Okay. Very good. So that's a nothing. What about the 2 sheets?
Our initial sample came back and had human and male DNA on it. We got a mixture of at least 2 people, and it's not a clear major or minor on that, so it wouldn't meet standards for comparison.
Okay, and then what we have left is just some of the samples from the trunk of Angelo's car.
So for those, the samples in the trunk edge, I went ahead when I was first screening that and swabbed at that stain and got a TMB positive and a KM positive results on that, which indicated that blood was present. So I went back to that sample and cut out the whole stain and put that forward for DNA analysis, and that does match the victim.
There you go. Awesome. The lab has reconfirmed that Maddie Henry's blood was present in the trunk of the car that Angelo was driving that night, consistent with the prior test results. Physical evidence doesn't get much better than that.
Thank you, Rachel. You've been very helpful.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Good to talk to you again.
You guys good with that?
That's good.
Absolutely.
It's her blood in a car where she's never even ridden before. It's great.
I don't care if she rode in this car. How is her blood in the trunk?
Right. How does this woman's blood get in the trunk of the car, coupled with all of the other stuff that we have? I mean, the DNA evidence, I'm very happy with it.
All right, guys. Well, good luck. If you're going to start maybe possibly talking to the suspect tomorrow, please keep me updated
Yes, we will.
on what happens.
Great to see you.
You too.
Come on, let's go. I'll buy you a drink.
Oh,
That good news.
I like that.
Now it's time to confront Angelo Ruth and see if he can explain why Maddie's blood is in the trunk of that car.
Let's just hope he's in a talkative mood today.
Our plan is to approach him at his sandwich shop, catch him off guard, and see if we can get him to talk. So that's definitely not a sit down.
Nope. It's like we're going to have to go up to the window and ask to speak to Angelo. That's the type of deal. And hopefully he'll open the door for us.
When we go to talk to Angelo, you know, the butterflies start going. I'm starting to think about how I'm going to question him, how I'm going to approach him. It's just adrenaline, and that's the creme de la creme. That's what you live for, is being able to sit down with them and talk with them.
Angelo isn't here, which is odd, because from everything that we've heard, he's always at that sandwich shop. It makes you wonder if he heard that we had been asking around about Maddie's murder.
We can run by his house.
Let's do it.
We're going to try to run by his residence and see if maybe we can catch him there.
He could be hiding. Angelo is at that business all the time.
I know.
I mean, that's his cash cow. That's how he makes a livelihood. For him to just get up and leave, he could have beat feet and took off for a little while until things calmed down.
This is it.
Is that the house right there?
Yeah, with the Cadillac and the Cadillac sedan in the driveway.
I'm pretty sure that's what he's supposed to be driving.
We say don't say anything to anybody. They tell one person in confidentiality, then that person tells someone that goes around and around.
Try the side door.
We don't talk to Angelo, and it's a letdown. It's very evident that he's trying to avoid us, and when people start avoiding you, there's a reason why they're avoiding you.
Well, like the gig is up.
Yup. He heard that we were coming. Just the way that it is.
Angelo is nowhere to be found, but we're not giving up. We just need to figure out our next step.
3:30, I would say we could go to the Speedy 2, see if he's there one more time.
Well, plus now he'll check your message, and your message sounds friendly, so...
Yeah.
If he's out of town, he's already out of town.
I don't need... Detective Antonini.
We've left a message on Angelo's voicemail, and hopefully that's him.
Apparently, Angelo sought out an attorney.
Today.
Today.
Okay.
So he's off limits to us.
Well, we can all agree that you didn't need Angelo to say anything else anyway.
No, we just had to build a better case against him, which I think we accomplished.
We started our investigation with 2 viable suspects. But with everything that we've uncovered, we feel like we have a clearer picture of how Maddie Henry was murdered. What do y'all think about what we should do with Jerry Nash?
We talked to Jerry, we talked to Gerald Jenkins. They could not put anything definitive or concrete they could swear to that actually happened between our victim and Jerry Nash.
He has no motive.
Anybody that's willingly going to give up his DNA, that to me is a big sign that I didn't have anything to do with it.
The DNA results show no evidence linking Jerry Nash to Maddie or the crime scene. We now know that Jerry Nash and his involvement with Maddie is pretty much only just talk from a long time ago, and we can mark him off our suspect board. So now we have all of those issues still underneath Angelo Ruth. You start with the life insurance policy, because how often with a case like this do you have a $50,000 life insurance policy?
First time I've seen it.
And You have an expert that'll say her signature was forged.
I examined that and I determined that she did not write the signatures on the document.
And you made a beautiful story of how his financial world is crumbling around him 9 days before the murder.
There was a judgment that was filed against Angelo directly tied to his house going into foreclosure. We know that Angelo told 3 different accounts about the hotel.
His story changes from nothing about the motel to I was there with a prostitute to, well, I took Maddie there that day and rented the room and had sex with her there. I mean, the story couldn't have changed and evolved any more than it did because he's lying about everything. You have the fact that he's saying he does not own a .38. And he's got no alibi for the night of the murder. And you even have DNA.
Blood was present, and that does match the victim.
There you go.
Her blood was in the trunk of the car that he was driving the night she was murdered.
And these are all huge things that I feel really good being able to present to the state attorney.
They all point to Angelo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, every one of them.
This case is almost 22 years old. This case is not going to get any better than what we have right now.
Well, good luck.
Ready to go?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Brian and Al just presented the case to the state's attorney. Now it's time to tell Rhonda where her mother's case stands. You doing all right? Okay. Sometimes, you know, you're kind of drawn because you have to worry about Angelo. How are you doing with all this?
He called me yesterday, like, really upset. And I told him, like, I'm starting to get mixed feelings because you're running high. What are you high from?
Rhonda, you don't need to have any mixed feelings.
Yeah.
We like the case.
Okay.
Some new stuff came to light, more recent developments that we followed up on. We had a good meeting today.
Okay.
We laid out the entire case with the state. Right now, the state requires a little bit more information. So we have to get some transcripts to them. We have to get some financial documents to them so they can review it and go forward with it. That's our ultimate hope.
The case is still being worked on.
Yeah.
Okay?
We're not going to give up. We're going to keep working this case to give you and your family the closure they deserve.
We want justice for Maddie, and we want justice for you.
Yeah, something like this needs to happen, maybe to stop some of the trigger pulling.
If we could bring an end to this case, it brings a message to the community that the Fort Myers Police Department will not stop until we get the person that is responsible for a murder. If we can put that little thought in one murderer's head, it's going to be one less murder, and it's going to be one more family saved.
So you be patient a little bit longer, but this is a good case. Okay. And they put it together beautifully. I think your persistence kind of helped it happen, don't you?
Yeah.